It was an ordinary Tuesday at Greenwood High School. The school bell chimed at 8 a.m. sharp, signaling the start of another day filled with lessons, laughter, and the typical hustle and bustle of high school life. Students chatted in the hallways, exchanging weekend stories and last-minute homework tips. The air was filled with the scent of fresh coffee from the teacher's lounge and the unmistakable aroma of morning bagels from the cafeteria. Mr. Thompson, the school's beloved history teacher, was preparing for his first class of the day, a lecture on the American Revolution. He glanced at the clock, noting he had a few minutes before the students would start filing in. Just a normal day, he thought, as he sipped his coffee and reviewed his notes. Suddenly, the intercom crackled to life, and Principal Anderson's voice came through, calm but firm. "Attention, students and staff. This is a lockdown. Please follow the lockdown procedures immediately." A brief silence followed, as everyone tried to process what they had just heard. Lockdown drills were a routine part of school life, but there was something in the principal's voice that hinted this was not a drill. In room 204, where Mr. Thompson taught history, a palpable tension filled the air. The students looked at each other, eyes wide with confusion and fear. Mr. Thompson took a deep breath, trying to keep his voice steady as he spoke. "All right, everyone, you know the drill. Move away from the windows and doors, stay quiet, and let's all get down on the floor." As the students complied, Mr. Thompson locked the door, turned off the lights, and pulled down the window shades. The room was plunged into semi-darkness, with only the faint glow of sunlight peeking through the edges of the blinds. The only sound was the shuffling of students settling into their hiding spots. In the science lab, Ms. Perez, the chemistry teacher, was conducting an experiment with her class. The sudden announcement caught her off guard, and she quickly instructed her students to take cover behind the lab tables. The heavy silence that followed was a stark contrast to the usual clinking of glassware and bubbling of chemicals. Across the hall in the library, Mrs. Turner, the librarian, and a group of students were enjoying a quiet morning of reading. The announcement sent a wave of anxiety through the room. Mrs. Turner quickly ushered everyone into the back storage room, where they huddled together, listening intently for any sounds that might explain what was happening. In the gymnasium, Coach Miller and the basketball team were in the middle of practice. The coach, a former military officer, swiftly directed the players to a secure area in the locker rooms. His authoritative voice calmed the team, though the uncertainty of the situation weighed heavily on everyone's minds. Minutes stretched into what felt like hours. The school was eerily quiet, save for the occasional distant sound, perhaps a door closing or a faint echo from the hallway. Everyone's nerves were on edge, minds racing with questions and fears. What was going on? Was there a real threat, or was this an elaborate drill? In room 204, Mr. Thompson's heart raced. He was acutely aware of the responsibility he had for the students under his care. He tried to maintain a calm exterior, whispering reassurances to the students closest to him. Beside him, Anna, a usually confident student, was visibly shaken. She clutched her phone tightly, her fingers trembling as she tried to send a message to her parents. "Stay calm," Mr. Thompson whispered. "Everything will be all right." Anna nodded, tears welling in her eyes. The room felt suffocating, the silence almost unbearable. Each minute that passed without an update was agonizing. In another part of the school, Officer Reed, the school resource officer, was moving cautiously through the hallways. He had received a vague report of a possible intruder near the school grounds, prompting the lockdown. His radio crackled occasionally with updates from the local police department, but information was scarce. The school's layout was familiar to him, but the tension of the situation made every corner feel ominous. Outside, parents had begun to gather near the school entrance, their faces etched with worry. The news of the lockdown had spread quickly through text messages and social media. The police had cordoned off the area, keeping the parents at a distance while they assessed the situation. The sight of police cars and the uncertainty of the moment added to the growing panic. Back in the classrooms, students and teachers tried to maintain a semblance of normalcy. In the art room, Ms. Green encouraged her students to keep drawing, hoping to distract them from the fear gnawing at their insides. In the music room, Mr. Lawrence, the band teacher, whispered stories about famous composers to his students, trying to keep their minds occupied. In the cafeteria, which had been deserted when the lockdown started, the staff huddled together in the kitchen area. They listened intently to the radio, hoping for any news that would shed light on the situation. The faint sound of police sirens in the distance only heightened the sense of unease. After what felt like an eternity, the intercom crackled again. Attention, students and staff. The lockdown is now lifted. Please remain in your classrooms until further instructions. A collective sigh of relief swept through the school. In room 204, Mr. Thompson hugged Anna and the other students close, reassuring them that they were safe. The lights were turned back on, and the students slowly began to emerge from their hiding spots, still shaken but relieved. In the hallways, Officer Reed met with Principal Anderson. The report of an intruder had turned out to be a false alarm, a misunderstanding involving a nearby resident. The police had thoroughly searched the area and found no credible threat. As the news spread, the atmosphere in the school shifted from fear to relief. Teachers and students hugged, some shedding tears of relief. The parents outside were informed of the false alarm, and the tension gradually eased. The police presence remained as a precaution, but the immediate danger had passed.